like we are live. Welcome, everyone. This is Geekspeak, and Phelan and I are going to be talking about something that I know very little about called vibe coding. Perhaps you're familiar with it, but it is a new way of being able to code without knowing how to code. So, creating applications to have things done and with describing your how what I understand is to describe you describe the outcomes that you want with AI and AI creates the coding for you.
Yes.
So obviously that's not my area of expertise. I'm not a developer, but I have all the questions that come with all the questions today, and Phelan is going to answer all the questions. So we're going to do a slightly different way of organizing Geek Speak today, and hopefully this will be turn into a good conversation. So if you have
Yeah.
any questions about vibe coding, make sure you're putting them in the comments. They should float onto my screen, and I'll make sure that I ask Phelan. Or you can drop comments in if you're watching this on a repeat below, and we'll come back and monitor and answer any questions that you might have
Absolutely.
afterwards.
And we are shared in the
Great.
group as well. So,
Terrific. So we can get going.
yeah.
That is great. So let's start with the basic question, the fundamental question. Phelan, what is vibe coding? And please explain it better than I just did. Thank you.
You actually didn't do like a bad explanation at all. I think that the kind of I think that this is the hidden underside of like what AI actually does really well is it understands
Mhm.
syntax of like a language. And so even though you like so just I guess more fundamentally vibe coding is using AI, you tell it a prompt saying, "Hey, write me a bit of JavaScript that is going to do X, Y, and Z things using this application or ChatGPT or Search Console API. Take in this information, process it, and give me answers as to what's going on with this information." So, um, like a really, and you don't need to be technical. It does help. We'll get into that. That's there are some
Yeah.
downsides if you don't know what your technical your security requirements are, and you make it public. Bad things have happened. But the cool part is, and why I really wanted to talk about this, is that I've noticed that a lot of people that I know that are very technical people we're using AI to basically. It's because a
Yeah.
lot of like grunt work goes into just like writing out and like what the function needs to do. But I'm like, I don't need to learn the syntax of Python. That's kind of stupid for me to spend all that time. Like, you just tell AI, write me a Python script that takes in this library and uses it to do this to this website as an analysis.
So can we give like some hard examples? Because when I read it, it said that I could create an app. So how big of an app can I create? Can I just go on and prompt to make a new dating app, for example?
Uh,
Like a whole thing, or is it just sections within apps that we're talking about when you talk about functionality? Is it just pieces, or is
that
it whole entire things?
So, what I would say is, I mean, it actually is sky's the limit right now, because
Hmm.
there's a lot of tools that are actually pretty good at building out whole functionality on it. What I would
Right,
say is, don't tell it to write the all that functionality at once. What you should do is
right.
write in sections and fill it. Like, if you have a roadmap on what you want your app to do, and I want it to have like,
Hmm.
user signs up, I ask them these questions, that fills out their profile so it looks like this. Each one of those I would make them their own separate prompts, because the AI will lose the plot very quickly if you tell it like recreate Twitter. It's going to give you a bunch of useless gobbledygook that's just not going to be useful. But if you
Okay, so, and then how do you get all of those pieces? So, say you break things down into steps and functional pieces, whatever you want to call it.
yeah.
How do you get it to speak to each other? Like, how do you connect those pieces then?
So what you do is you start off with very small sections. And there's also really good hosting now for this AI coding. So it can
Okay.
write up a bunch of code, and then there's so Cursor's one. It's like its own integrated. Like, it'll write all the code, build all the folders with all the files and how they relate to each other. And so there are a bunch of really good tools out there right now that people have. And then all you would need
So,
to
sorry, it's just to go back, just because I'm such a novice at
Oh
this.
yeah, yeah, no, no,
What you're saying is that this platform that you're talking about
yeah.
operates a lot like what I would have used GitHub when I wrote some HTML stuff and stored it on GitHub. That's a place that you put it. So you can't just have the code itself. You have to
Get it to
um,
some sort of
host it
hosting
somewhere.
platform.
Okay, all
and,
right.
and there's ones that connect with like the like how you write the code, like your
Okay,
application.
right. Okay, so that's another question I have. Can you write the code in any AI, or do you have to have specific AI writing, um, a code writing AI,
There are
or can you
definite
just create an agent on ChatGPT?
there are ChatGPT. I do not recommend, and that's not just for
But you
me.
could, or you
You
couldn't?
could really right
Okay.
now. A lot of the pros that I've been listening to that tested out a bunch of them. They kind of did a
Hmm.
breakdown. Claude came out really high. Gemini also came out really high.
Okay.
Uh,
So these are not weird, obscure
no,
um, programs. They're like programs that anyone can
you
sign up for quite easily.
exactly. They're ones that you probably already have for doing something else. So, but Claude
Hmm.
and Gemini were considered quite good at it. They play well with others, and they
Right.
provide decent code. I'm gonna need to go find the research, but there's one that actually kind of goes to what you said, and it's an extension of Claude, and it
Hmm.
actually will not it doesn't write the code, but it writes out the entire roadmap of what that app needs to have. Like how
Oh,
I
I
kind of
see.
so now they're even
Oh,
like
I see. So you can get a
one level.
roadmap. So you use one AI for the roadmap,
Yeah.
then you find a hosting AI where they write the code and host, and then how do you figure out if it's working? Like,
Uh.
do you have a preview view like on WordPress?
Yeah. Yeah. So what it is it's
Okay.
usually got like a typically when you're doing this, you wouldn't go straight to the hosting. You would have it kind of locally,
Hmm.
and then you'd be like,
Okay.
run the code, and then it would run, and then it'll give you like in your browser, you actually have a thing called localhost, and it will give
All
you like
right.
localhost 3000, and then if you go to localhost
Okay.
3000, no one could see it. It's just you because it's locally hosted,
Hmm.
and then you just
Yeah.
go in and you could test it. You could be like, oh, this doesn't work. Please fix this, and then you could totally do that. Again, like
Okay.
we're talking about like the biggest version of what you could possibly do with a vibe code,
Hmm.
which is like a full
Hmm.
application. But it could be
Yeah.
as simple as like a Google ad script. So like we have one that just monitors all of our campaigns, and if something goes weird with one of them, it sends us an email in the morning saying, "Hey,
What do you
this
mean? What do you mean if something goes weird with it? Like, give me an example. What does that mean?
campaigns are all stopped. There hasn't been a single click on our
Ah,
campaign."
okay. And then the script that you wrote in the AI, you put somewhere in your Google account,
Uh,
and then it sends you an email notification when something goes really wrong.
Yeah, so what it is we have it on all of our accounts, and
Okay.
there's a section in there where it's under tools, and it will say shared library. I believe they changed it, so and you're looking for a thing called scripts, and it's literally just
Okay.
JavaScript that you could write in. I've done this with a bunch of different like little applications within Google Ads, but it basically automates a
Okay.
lot of the job because a lot of Google Ads is kind of repetitive. So why
Right.
not use code to make it run smoother? Um, Another use case I've definitely seen is Chrome extensions.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, okay.
because Chrome extensions are very annoying to actually code them yourself. There's all kinds of
Yeah.
requirements because Google has like they'll let you do stuff, but it's very sandboxed because they're afraid of
Hmm.
people because everyone's abused them. Like especially any sort of like pausing your screen. A lot of those ones they get like sold on to other people sell your data and that kind of stuff. So you have to be kind of
All
wary about.
right.
Uh,
All right.
and so Google is very cautious about what a Chrome extension is allowed to do, which makes it
Right.
really powerful once you get it going. But it's also very
Hmm.
annoying to get it going. Um, I
Hmm.
believe also if you are developing your own, you don't need to follow all the requirements. If it's in developer mode, meaning like you're building it,
Hmm.
you don't
Yeah.
need to follow every single requirement as long as you're not trying to publish it on their marketplace. As soon as you do, they're going
Okay.
to go over it with a fine
Yeah.
tooth comb to make sure there's
Yes.
nothing weird that's happening, which I think is good. I think that's
Yeah.
very happy they're doing that. But
Checks
it's
and
just,
balances are good for
yeah,
privacy.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
I agree.
know as well one other use case that I haven't really tapped into was Greg, who kind of first put me onto this, was doing it with WordPress plugins. He would build one that would just do
Oh,
a small, like debugging something, or like I forget his use case that he had, but it was like just kind of small, like it doesn't have to do anything crazy, but it was enough to kind of save him hours in the month of checking on websites for certain things.
but I thought that WordPress plugins were under copyright rule and you weren't allowed to put custom coding on them.
Well, you could just build your own, and as long as you publish your own,
I
and
see.
because you could just upload
I
your own,
see.
and then
I
it
see.
doesn't have to go through the marketplace again. Like the
Right.
marketplace, someone reviews it. If it's just for your own and you know it's safe, it doesn't do anything weird. Then
Okay.
there's no harm, no foul in actually just like publishing your own. Um,
Okay. Okay, so I think that did you have any other case use studies that you wanted to talk about before I ask my next question?
um, I'd say what are the so one other one that I've done as well is extend out. So I had a client that was on an old Moneris
Mm,
e-commerce website, and when you exported, because they had to migrate over to Wix, when you exported it, they so this is a very practical use case that I had, is that what I had to do is it didn't export the images with the products even though they were there. I don't know how their database associated these
right. Oh,
things.
yes, I remember this.
Yeah,
Yes.
so what I did is I used AI to use Beautiful Soup. Beautiful Soup is a great library. That's why Python is really good, is that it can scrape a website and then pull out information. So what I did is I associated each page. I told it, like, go to the page, find a place where there's a
Right.
thing called image. That image has a URL associated with it. Grab that with the URL and then make me a new spreadsheet where they have two columns of that. And so
Oh,
I
that's awesome.
yeah, so
That's so
very
much time. I've actually I've been one of the people that had to um, import um, import blog posts in particular from one, and then the images don't come for whatever reason. In the olden days, it was probably a while now back since we've done it this way.
yeah.
And what a disaster that was. It just ends up being so much time wasted.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's definitely one that I think is a really good use case. I will say that's a little more technical to actually get it to run the code, because you have to like locally host your Python, and you got to like add a bunch of libraries and stuff like that. So if you do run into a use case like that, reach out to me because I can help you with setting that up. It's a
Right.
lot of time in your terminal, but
Yeah.
the amount of time I spent on that was a fraction of what it would have been to actually go through each individual page, get each individual
Yes.
image.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's definitely
Yeah.
well worth it. Um,
And so, what do you think? One of the questions we have from our list is why does vibe coding matter? Why do you think like I mean, I almost think that that's a poor question because we sort of what got into it, but what is the most exciting thing for you about vibe coding? I think that's a more interesting question for you.
I,
And
I
then I
like
have a couple of ideas too.
well, what I like about it is that learning new coding languages sucks. Like
Hmm.
learning, because they've got all their own unique little syntax, and then so a computer is much better at learning those little syntaxes and like
Yeah,
knowing them. And then as long as you know, write me a Python script that uses Beautiful Soup to scrape this website looking for an image URL, take that and create a new CSV with that where I have the page that you're on and the URL, right? Those are very deterministic outcomes that I'm looking for the
yeah,
code to do. It may take some refreshing, going like, hey, it gave me this error message when I ran it, but the actual overall code that you're going to get is actually pretty good, and it's way less annoying than if I had to write it. Uh,
right. So I feel like it gives you, for me, I think that one of the things that excites me the most is that it gives people who don't code the freedom to play
yep,
and test ideas, test design ideas, test functionality ideas to see what will work where and how. But but at that point, and so I think of it as like a sketchbook, quite frankly. If I go back to my art days, it would be like having a sketchbook where you could try it different iterations of the same thing quite quickly, and it doesn't take a whole long time to organize. So you've got this idea, you've worked it out, you're not a developer, you're me. You've worked out something that you like. Then what's the next stage to take that to, like, if we were going to take something to market, what should I do next? Because I feel like relying on my own abilities is not the right answer.
So yeah, I in the time that I went to Toronto, I really got into a YouTube channel called, like, I think it's like Maker's Story. It's
Right.
really good, and he does a lot of like micro SaaS companies. And so a lot of
Hmm.
these people, they're, even if they are technical, one of the things is a lot of them just like have the AI over on the side, just writing up the code while they're doing some other work that's paying, like that's client work. And so, like you said, you have an idea, hey, like, hey, I don't know, like, just one of the stories is a guy was like, he did basically a clone of Typeform, but like
Yeah.
halved the price, and then added a couple other features that people complained about on their subreddit for Typeform, that it's like, hey,
Yeah.
it doesn't do this or this. So he did those things, and then he just SEO'd the website to be alternative to Typeform, and it did really well there. So a lot of the people on that, he interviews a lot of people that, they're making like
Hmm.
a couple $1,000 a month off of a small SaaS product. And what he does is,
Right.
what they do is, a lot of it is a little bit of research on what people's complaints are. It's like, hey, I
Hmm.
like this, but it doesn't do this. Uh,
Yeah.
and so there's a lot of finding out what people's complaints are, finding out what the 1-star reviews are saying that they didn't like about the product, and
Hmm.
then kind of building to fit into that niche. So you're not trying to like
Hmm.
overtake the whole market. You're just trying to like have your little slice of the pie, and it's not going to be crazy, but like, at least it's manageable, and you could do it with like a one-person team. Um,
Yeah. So, okay, so I've got an idea. I've taken my slice. I mean, I haven't taken I've identified my slice.
yeah.
That's what I've done. I've identified my slice. I've made a little thing. Now what do I do? Do I need someone to refine the code? Do I need someone to do something else with it? Or how does that work? Because we've got things like security to worry about. We have things about, all that sort of stuff. The stuff that as a creative, I'm not interested in spending time learning. So what's next?
Yeah, so security is a big thing, and when I say security, what I mean is exposing sensitive data. So it could be your
Hmm.
API key to something, like something that you bought. So if that gets exposed, so other people can then now grab that and then start using yours
Hmm.
to do that. I'll give you a really good example. Is There was an app called T, that someone had vibe coded and clearly did not know any sort of web security features. And so he had his own personal email exposed as the developer. He also had the database got hit with what looked like a SQL injection, which is what it is that you just make a request, and then you say, hey, also get star from table users. So get me everything from the table that's called users. Well, it's just going to spit back all the users' information, passwords, possible credit card details, who knows what. Also, all the messages. So T was supposed to be like, you could anonymously leave messages, and they were not supposed to persist with user information. And then it did, because he didn't
Yeah.
know that that could be a thing. And so everyone's user information got exposed with what they were talking about people when they thought they were being anonymous. So, you know,
Yeah.
security issues that way. Um,
Totally. So what do we do to avoid those security issues is what I'm getting at. Where do we go? Who do we
oh,
talk to?
uh, so what? Actually, there are best practices. This is a
Hmm.
solved notion of like and honestly, going you could technically get that vibe coded as well if you say, hey, how do I make this web secure? It, they're gonna know, like, AI tools, if they've read pages, that they know that, hey, to make your app secure, you do X, Y, and Z. So you have like a special file that's not exposed to the public. You prevent SQL injections by doing these things. Like, these are very solved things. I think it's one of those.
Right, but I don't really want to do that because I want to make sure that it's done correctly, and that's not something that I want to actually dig my brain into. So do I find a developer at this point to
Yeah, yeah. If
reorganize? Okay.
yeah, so if you're going to be holding on to a lot of personal information,
Hmm.
I would definitely hire someone who specializes in web security.
Hmm.
And there's lots of people out there. Um, you're also getting uh any sort of financial information, like if you're doing transactions. You really don't have to worry about that, because like a Stripe or something is going to give you a portal that will give, like, and their
Right.
stuff is all secure, and they
Yeah,
have
so not
their own
only just I
security.
just want to clarify for the people out there. So not only
Yeah,
is Stripe secure, but it also doesn't if they're taking on the liability issues, not you, because they're just a gateway that you're utilizing and you're not actually storing any data on your server.
yeah.
So that's why we always use these things so that we don't have to be where we bear no liability in that.
And they spend all the time doing and obsessing
Yeah.
over all that stuff. So let Stripe go and handle any sort of payment processing. They have a very
Yeah.
nice, easy to use UI, and it's very simple to integrate with any application. I strongly recommend that, mostly because it, yeah, not only liability, but like amount of time and effort you would need to pour into it. It's just not worth it. It's like, spend the 5 minutes and just sign up to a Stripe account, and you will save yourself a world of hurt of trying to learn how to actually do these things.
So can I vibe code a shopping cart? Because that's always the thing that costs the most.
Uh, I mean, like for a WordPress situation,
Hmm.
um, I don't see why not. Honestly, if you connect to a Stripe account, you connect to some sort of email delivery. So say you're selling a $5 digital product, I don't see why you couldn't
Hmm.
have like a vibe code, like a small plugin that's like Rena's
Right.
digital product giveaway, and then you just connect it to some sort of email delivery system like a send mail, or there's lots out there. There's
Hmm.
tons of that will just handle the emails for you. Again, that's another. One other thing I should really hammer home with this whole talk is a lot of what you're doing is taking different APIs that exist and kind of
Hmm.
repackaging them to do something for you. So you don't create an email sending system. They exist.
So just so that people understand, APIs are it's a little code that you get, like a key that you get from a variety of platforms that have APIs that allow you to build functionality onto their functionality. So some of the ones that I've used API would be like for oh, I now I'm trying to think for like MailChimp used to have an API. I don't actually
Yeah.
know if they do anymore,
Oh no,
actually. I
they
think
still
they
do.
pulled
Yeah,
it.
yeah, they
Twi-
definitely.
Twitter has an API.
Yeah.
Lots of them have APIs, and that's how like schedulers organize to schedule content onto Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it now, is through using their API in their platform. So just so that people can get an idea that you can, if a platform offers an API, you're able to utilize that functionality and build upon it, and that's
Yeah.
super fun. I've done that before.
Like basically Zapier is just hundreds of APIs that are all
Yeah,
saying this thing will output this information, and this platform will take in the, like, this is what you could do with that. And so that's
yeah,
all, like, that's a very visual representation of an API. It's that I have data coming
yeah.
from over here, it's going to over here, what can I do with that information? And so that's kind of like
Hmm.
a very visual way of what an API looks like. And there's like hundreds out there, and uh, they're also, like, at this point, also very um, productized. So they're not very unique, a
Hmm.
lot of them. So
Yeah,
there's a lot, and they're all very inexpensive. So even if you do get your app going, the overhead costs can be quite low for any of
yeah.
this. So it's not, this isn't going to break the bank with doing any of this stuff. Even
Hmm.
hosting can be quite inexpensive these days for an application. Um, yeah, a lot of these, yeah, third party tools like an email or Stripe are very inexpensive overall for like how much use you're getting
Yeah.
out of them. They're pretty inexpensive.
Yeah, so we kind of hit upon this a little bit already, but what are the downsides of vibe coding?
Uh, yeah, definitely the T app is a really good example of not knowing what you need to know and accidentally exposing user information. Um, I
So
would
security is the number one issue.
security and keeping sensitive information like API keys, like I said, and your
Hmm.
email, user information, keeping all that kind of out of the reach of someone who's going to. Because one thing that about using web applications, how people hack into them, is that um, they think about like the weird edge cases of like you may not expect someone to type this into this area, and because of that you didn't think that, oh, I didn't make that secure, so all of a sudden people can get information into different forms that you didn't expect them to. That's kind of
Right.
the classic one. Like an example would be WordPress is built on PHP, and PHP is notorious for doing SQL injections. It loves just giving up table information if you don't
Mm.
secure the form correctly. And so people have been known to just, like I said, get the user table and they like submit a contact form. But when they do that, they actually added the select star from table users. And so it just on the it emitted a big HTML thing of all the users that were in the database and their passwords. So
Oh, that's not good. So, okay, so security is a really, really big thing to consider. And then I wanted to know, what about scaling? If you vibe code a little Google extension, for example, and you're hosting it on the place that you mentioned where you can host and build it, and you haven't moved it anywhere, can you just scale it? Like, can you scale and sell that? Or or do you have to move to some other different kind of hosting in order to scale big?
just a clarification. Like a Chrome extension will be
Hmm.
hosted entirely on the browser that it's downloaded to. So
All
it
right. Okay. So it
it,
doesn't but
it doesn't
require anything
require.
different.
Not really.
Okay.
There's a couple of
Okay.
SEO ones I use that will reach out. So if you like are signed in, so but that's
Hmm.
kind of like a bit of an edge case. But say you have like, say let's go back to your dating app that we had like as a good example of, say, you come up with this dating app and you've got it. Are you going to hit scaling issues? Yes, eventually at some point you are going to hit scaling issues. That's
Okay.
just kind of the nature of code. um, it can run, it depends on how what language you run it in, who you're hosted with. There's a multitude of factors. But at that
Yeah.
point, if you are hitting a scaling issue, you should have enough money to have a guy rewrite the code base.
Right.
Uh,
Rewrite the code. That's where I was going. Okay, so eventually you really do want to re have the code cleaned up and rewritten.
yes. There's also one of those on that YouTube channel I was telling you about, the Maker Story. One guy,
Hmm.
he's only in Bubble.io, that builds like
Hmm.
little apps, and he's stuck there. Even though, like he said, like no, I worked with their team. They helped me fix a couple things that
Yeah.
were hindering the performance. But he said, no, I'm staying there. We fixed it, and there's no reason for me to actually get this
Okay.
code base
That's
rewritten.
good.
So it really depends on your use case, where it is. Eventually, you might hit something, and you'll need to work through
Hmm.
that at some point.
Hmm.
Um, but like I said, you should be making enough money that it's worth it to invest in fixing it to scale up another,
Right.
X amount of time. But it's a good question. It's definitely something. When you're starting off with an idea, like you said, I like the sketchbook analogy very much, like
Hmm.
that. Get it out there, get people to test it, because like the first 100 users, there's no way that you're going to hit some sort of weird scaling
Yeah.
issue, but you're going to
Yeah.
get enough feedback that you can get it. So it's kind of like, oh, people like this, but they hate this feature, and you can
Hmm.
edit that feature. So what you're doing in those early days is just getting ideas out there to see what sticks with
Yeah.
people and what solves people's problems, and what
Yeah.
other problems they're getting out of that. And so that's kind of your job at the very start of this.
Yeah. That's the most interesting part for me. That
Yeah.
is for sure.
Okay.
Okay, so we are now out of time, and we thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Wherever you found us is where you can come back next Thursday. We're here
Mm-hmm.
every Thursday at 11. And we next week's conversation is going to be again with Phelan and me, and it is sustainable and eco-friendly practices for web hosting. And that's actually one of my jam topics, so I'm really stoked about that.
Nice.
If you'd like to join our community, you can find us in the Business Marketing Mixer group in Facebook, and come and join there. And we have a happy hour on every Friday that I host. I'd love to have you. So we will see you next week. Thank you so much.
Yes. Bye for now.